Hey, I hope you're doing well, whoever is watching this. And I've been reading this book called From Unconsciousness to Consciousness by Osho. And this book has been a great read, especially since the ideas behind it have been relating a lot to stuff that I've been thinking on my own. And, the most interesting point in this book is the idea that we are 99% of us are really dead and not really alive. We seem like we are alive. We may think we're alive, but we're actually dead. And what Osho means by us being dead is that we are rarely being witnesses of our present moment. You wake up and you may brush your teeth and have breakfast, go to classes, go to work, exercise, anything you do each day. But you're not really there doing it when you're doing it. You're like in autopilot mode, or you're pretty much unconscious of the present moment. Um, you may be brushing your teeth, but while you're brushing them, your mind is like 2,000 kilometers away thinking about something that happened 3 months ago or something like that. And I notice in myself that like 90% of my life pretty much runs this way. Like, I'm always either thinking about something from the past or anticipating something in the future, and my thoughts are always between those two poles, but I'm never fully in the present. I'm never being a witness to the present unless I'm like deliberately trying to, for example, in meditation, or just actively trying to stay in the present. And I think this is common to everyone. It's not anything new. Like, um, I know pretty much everyone wakes up thinking and never stops thinking until they go to bed. And that's our lives. Most people don't get present unless we meditate or something. And, well, an interesting thing that he speaks about is that if you're in the present, you can only be consciousness or perception. There is no space in the present for the mind to exist. And this might sound confusing, but the idea is that your mind is your thinking, right? And in order to think, you need time, a thought, whatever it is. You need time to form that thought. Like, for example, I might be outside and I see a flower, and I describe to myself this flower. It's a red flower, it's beautiful, and whatever other thoughts or judgments I can make of the flower. But in order to make all of these thoughts and judgments, I need to use my memory. First of all, I need to know what words to use and the meaning behind those words, like, for example, beautiful and stuff like that. And so, just in that, like in the act of thinking, it you're pulled away from the present. You're not fully perceiving it anymore. Um, and and yeah, like, the mind is really not something to understand from this, is that the mind is not really concrete, in the sense that this tree um, has substance. It's wood, it's hard, you can feel it, you can touch it. Like, the tree is an object, but there's there's also the mind is an abstract concept because it's sort of like the word wave. You know, we use the word wave, but a wave is not really a thing on itself. A wave is what happens when wind interacts with the ocean. You know, the wind pulls the water in the surface of the ocean, and that forms a wave. So, or like a crowd. You know, a crowd is not really a concrete thing, but it's what we use to describe, you know, a bunch of individuals that are in the same place. And that's the same thing with the mind. Like the mind is a abstract concept because what individuals are for a crowd, thoughts are for the mind. So what we call our minds is pretty much just the the accumulation or all the thoughts that we have or have had, and all the memories and all of our mental activity conjoined. That's that thing that is all of those things combined is what we call the mind. So you don't have to be in your mind all the time. Like you can stop thinking, and the way to stop thinking, as he presents it, is that you you become a witness. You know, Osho uses the word witness a lot because what he means by a witness is that, you know, my eyes are just windows, and behind my eyes is my awareness. But is my awareness really there, looking behind my eyes? Because my eyes can be pointing at something and it looks like I'm looking at it, but my awareness might be somewhere else. You know, I might be thinking of something else or remembering something. So I'm not really there to look through the window. You know, like it's not the window that looks. It's the person behind the window that does it. And I think that's something deep to understand. Like it's so practical. I know a lot of people that meditate or have read um, stuff that's related to the topic of meditation and mindfulness know this, that the key is awareness in the present moment. But you know, as Westerners, we don't really practice it. Um, we don't really emphasize the importance of this, so yeah, the point I want to reach with this is that being present in the present reality, you know, being behind the window of your senses and actually witnessing the present reality, perceiving instead of thinking, is very important to practice, I think, because it can help you ground yourself, and especially in these times where, you know, it seems like so much stuff is going on at once, and you know, we see in our phones like an overload of information. You know, like a person in these times is probably processing the information that someone 200 years ago would process like in 2 weeks. Like we process that in a day. So it's no wonder that people that we're going, you know, depression is increasing and anxiety is increasing globally, and we're pretty much heading towards like a mental health crisis. And I think it's because we're always in our minds, you know, we're always thinking about our problems and what's happening in the world and like our future or the past or whatever it may be. And but we don't value the present, which is all there is, you know, like it feels when you remember something as if you're going back into that moment, as if you're reliving that past, But you know, memories are just stored in your brain, and the future is not here yet. Like, all there is the present moment. And how sad would it be if you spend the whole present moment of your life either waiting for something in the future or missing something from the past, you know? Like, if you're living that way, you're probably going to enjoy very few moments in your life. So that's what it's about. Like, if you practice and train your attention to be more present, to have more presence and be a witness, as Osho calls it, it can help you navigate your personal problems and the world's, you know, situation and everything that's going on. Because if you simply get out of your mind and perceive and become consciousness, what you're really doing there is going back to yourself. As I said, like, the mind is just a construct created by our thoughts. It's an activity of consciousness, but you're not your mind. That's the thing to understand. Like, you have a mind, but you're not your mind. You are consciousness. So to be able to just be that consciousness in its fullness, in stillness, it's really going back to what you really are, or remembering who you are. And when you do that, it can be so satisfying, because when you do it, peace immediately follows, and you just feel a relief and blissful, you know. And the more you stay there, the more blissful you feel. And yeah, so that's basically the point I wanted to make. Like, the present is all there is. Anything you want to feel, anything you want to happen in your life or you want to experience, can only happen in the present. So how are you really going to enjoy those things if you can't even be in the present? And I know it's a problem we all share. Like, I catch myself so many times throughout the day just getting lost in my mind. But just, if you're persistent and every time you notice you're not in the present, you sort of go like, okay, I got lost again, and then become present again, and just do it over and over, and it becomes easier. And meditation obviously helps too. But try it, you know. I know it helps anyone who does it. It's like a universal thing. It's something that is in our nature, to just be consciousness. And yeah, as I mentioned, pretty much thinking is the cause of our suffering. Because when you're thinking, you're judging, you are anticipating, you're over-analyzing, and there's no rule in life that says you always have to think. You can just perceive from moment to moment. And as the great Alan Watts said, like, if you're thinking all the time, the only thing you're gonna have to think about is your own thoughts. So yeah, I encourage you to try it. Take a walk next time you go to eat or take a shower. Do it with presence. Like, really be there doing it, instead of, you know, showering but thinking about something else. You know, really enjoy the shower. So yeah, I hope that helps, and whatever, and peace.